Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arthritis Action Podcast. My name's Marc, as always, your host, and today I'm joined by Elizabeth Takyi. Elizabeth is a podcast presenter, as well as a lecturer, neurodiversity storyteller, and one of our trustees here at Arthritis Action. So welcome, Elizabeth, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I'm giving a very brief rundown there about you, but if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and your experience with arthritis.
Hello, everybody. As Marc have kindly introduced me and nicely introduced me, my name is Elizabeth Takyi, and I am all those things that Marc have said, in my bio. And I have a lived experience of osteoarthritis, and I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in 2021. I'll be really honest, I was very shocked because I didn't think someone as young as me, yes, I am young, would get arthritis. I just didn't think, I was very active. I played netball, I played badminton. I'm always going for walks. I love dancing, all the things that, are physical that I love doing suddenly all came to an end. And when I say all came to an end, because to manage the chronic pain sometimes, it's unbelievable. So when I was diagnosed with arthritis, I just didn't want to accept it. I was in total denial because it's not me. Why me? It shouldn't be me with arthritis. Out of all my friends and all my family, except my mum's got arthritis, I just didn't want to accept the label and what it takes and the pain and everything I was going through. So I really wanted to give back, and I contacted Arthritis Action when they actually put out an advert for trustees, and I'm so glad to be part of what they're doing because I've got lived experience, and it's not very nice sometimes when you can't get out of bed.
Well, thank you for joining us as well, as a charity as a whole as well. So it's really good to have you. So today we're going to be talking about cultural barriers with arthritis. And I was wondering, if you could give a little bit of your experience with cultural barriers in healthcare and arthritis.
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying, for example, during lockdown, none of us could meet each other. We couldn't meet friends, we couldn't meet family, and so forth. Now, my back pain started around maybe when I gave birth to my last daughter, which is about 14 years ago, is when the back pain kind of started. But I just put it all down to maybe epidural from birth, or maybe, I've just got a backache. I put it down to, didn't really look much into it. Until when my right hip rather, I was experiencing more severe pains in that side. So I thought, listen, I've got to go and see my doctor about this. So I did. When they did an x-ray, they just kind of came up with, it's just wear and tear. When I heard the word wear and tear, I thought, well, wear and tear, I'm getting a bit older, it's nothing big to worry about. Not knowing that word wear and tear, to be honest, I don't even think they should really use it.
No, it's a bit outdated, really, isn't it, that term?
Yeah, I just don't really think they should use such word because I took it quite calmly, thinking I'm getting a bit older. Of course, my joints are going to sort of sometimes hurt here, there, and everywhere. But during 2020, of course, we couldn't meet friends and whatsoever. Then 2021, I think the pandemic, it opened up a little bit, and then we couldn't. So a few friends of mine said, look, let's meet for a drink or let's catch up. And I remember going to meet them and I was slightly limping. And one of my friends said, what's wrong with you? Because they know that I'm a very active person. So one of my friends said, what's wrong with you? Why are you limping? And I said, I've got arthritis. Oh, Liz, come on. You're too young to get this. Also, it's not a big deal. And I said, well, I've been given a walking stick. And she said, I don't want to carry that. You don't really want to carry things like that, because it's sort of stigmatized and then it's like you don't fit in, so to speak. Now, I come from the Ghanaian community from West Africa, and anything that doesn't seem in vertical commas as norm, it gives some people things to talk about. There'll be all sorts of things going on. Oh, I don't know if she broke her leg or is her family cursed or what did she do? Oh, why should she hold a walking stick? All sorts of things that could be said. Now, my middle daughter would normally say, why do you care what people say, Mum? Why do you care? It's not that I care about what people say, but sometimes when you're brainwashed and you've got things in your mind, it makes you start believing certain things. So I didn't really use a walking stick. I kind of abandoned it to one side because I didn't want to be seen with a walking stick. And so some of the cultural barriers are, oh, look at that one over there. We don't want anything associated with disability. We don't like it. Yeah. So I've always trying to kind of start things out, make it out that it's not like that, but it is like that. And eventually I just had to say, look, I don't know if I can use this word here, to hell with everyone. I'm doing it my way,
Mm.
you know? And so I had to now accept that arthritis is real, it's here to stay. It's part of my life. My GP said to me, look, you're not going to wake up one morning and your chronic pains have disappeared. In fact, it gets worse as you get older.
Mm.
So I've now got to embrace this and live with it and limp as I walk, or the walking stick.
Have you managed to use the walking stick yet, or have you still not got to that stage yet?
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. I'm still very slow in using it, but I don't know. I think it's the stigma attached to it as well. You know, you're seen as disabled if you're using it to walk. And people make way for you, and people ask, are you all right? And people, I'm like, I'm actually okay. I don't like the sympathy and empathy that goes with it. I don't like that.
Do you think you're going to hit a point when you do actually have to give in and start using it? Because obviously there's that sort of kind of mental block as that you don't want to be seen as that. But where do you think that sort of line is where you kind of have to, again, say to hell with it and then start using it just because that's better for you?
I'm just going to have to do it very, very soon. In fact, maybe today even. I've got an appointment today up in the city, and I'm going to have to maybe use it because, you know, the one plus thing that I will say, one advantage could be that if I'm on the tubes and the trains and the buses, when people do see you with a stick, they may give you a seat. That's maybe a plus thing. That's a plus thing, as well as trying to balance my body because I recently had the physiotherapy. And the physiotherapist said, look, the more you're leaning on your left to help you, that's going to go eventually. And then you're not going to be able to walk. So buckle up, in other words. Not simple word like that, but I think he's trying to say, look, just get on with it. But it's like everything. I think, you know, in my community, a lot of things are like frowned upon.
Mm.
And it's really hard. And if you can do it your way, but then you feel like a sore thumb, you know, sticking out like a sore thumb. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell, kind of thing. Yeah. As the conversation continues, obviously there's more that we will explore. Yeah.
I mean, do you think that arthritis is thought of differently depending on which cultural background you're from then?
Yes, yes, because for example, I'll use my mother as an example. She won't go anywhere. My mum won't leave the house. She won't. She's got some of these cozy shoes, very comfortable cozy shoes.
Mm.
She said, "Well, why do I want to step out looking like that? People, you know, I can't wear my normal shoes. I can't be seen like this." So she's stuck indoors. She won't go anywhere. As much as we try to take her out, she won't. So now that I've been diagnosed with arthritis, I kind of get where my mum's coming from. Because with me, when I've been diagnosed now, I can't wear normal shoes. When I say normal shoes, like nice loafers, for example,
Yeah.
because to put it on and to take it off, I can't bend down to do that. So I'm living in Crocs at the moment. Nothing wrong with Crocs, except when you have to go to a nice board meeting and you've got Crocs decorated in different, you know, whatever they call them, the little things that stick on them.
Oh yeah, I'm too out of touch to know what those are called, but I do know that they exist.
I think the name will come to me in a minute. Yeah. I think they're called gibbets or whatever they are. Yeah, you stick
Okay.
on shoes. So I had to change my lifestyle completely in terms of the shoe I wear, the clothing I wear. I can't wear if certain clothing, I can't manage to put it on, for example, because
Mm.
my hip hurts. So my lifestyle's completely changed, you know, and that can get me down sometimes. And also I want to be seen as there's nothing wrong with me. As crazy as it sounds, Mark.
It doesn't sound crazy at all. I mean, like it's something everyone like, especially like if you take pride in your appearance and you project yourself in a certain way and you always have done,
Yeah,
then it's a really difficult thing to turn that backwards and just go for like comfort over like style or however you used to look.
absolutely.
Because the way people look can be part of them. And it really like because it's an outward projection of how you are and how you
Yeah.
feel and how you want to present yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. So yeah, so my life in general has completely changed. I'm no longer the Liz I used to be from 2019. Everything's completely changed in terms of the way I think, in terms of my outlook, socialization. Sometimes, if I have to go and meet friends, and
Mm.
again we do meet, I have really great tight knit of friends. And one of my friends, she's actually got arthritis in her knee. But she would say to me, I said, well, how are you feeling? And she would just say, great. And I said, well, actually, you're not great, are you? Because you're, you know, limping or whatever the word might be, or you're in pain. And she'll completely dismiss it because she doesn't want to be associated with anything that's known as disability. And I've had a few friends and family say, why don't you pray when you go and pray and, read your Bible and pray? Those pains are going to disappear, you're going to be healed. It's not happening at the moment.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of cultural barriers in that sense. Yeah.
It's a very tricky one, isn't it? Because I guess like different parts of the world will perceive it all different as well. So like the one from your perspective, sort of like from a Ghanaian background, will be
Mm.
different from someone else from like another country or another
Yes.
area as well. So that, I mean, that's got to be incredibly, I suppose, difficult, especially when it comes to a healthcare setting,
Yes.
because there's all these different things that, like you say, doctors or rheumatologists or nurses, whatever, will have to kind of think of. I've no idea how they manage it myself. That it seems like quite the task, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, it can be. I like to say I don't care what people think or say, but of course we do care. We
Yeah,
care about
yeah.
what people say.
We all have that front of like, oh, we're too independent and strong-minded. We don't need to worry about that. But
Yeah.
when it comes
But
down to it, everyone does to an extent.
everyone, and I'm somebody that I thought I'll do it my way until I was diagnosed with arthritis. You can't do it your way anymore, Liz. You're going to need that walking stick. You will need that parking bay. You will need that blue badge. You will be seen as having a disability. And, you know, yeah, it is what it is. I think, my mindset, as much as my lifestyle has changed, my mindset is, do you know what, I am actually going to do it my way. And if any of my aunties or uncles will say, why have you got a disabled badge? You're not disabled. Well, clearly I am. I've got arthritis in my hip. They will say to me, oh, try this medication. Like they're talking about natural herbs.
Right.
So one of my aunties the other day said, oh, there's a nice herb you can get from one of the African shops. Drink that and it'll go. Will it?
Interesting.
But this is where we are. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, could you tell us a bit more about those conversations with your family? Because well, obviously they have such a different view to it than you do. So I'm
Mm,
curious to learn a bit more about that.
absolutely. So for example, one of my aunties, she's 73 years of age and she is as fit as a fiddle.
Mm.
So I met up with her over the weekend and we were just talking. She said, oh, what's wrong with you? Well, I was trying to get out of the chair and I was really struggling. And so I've got arthritis. She goes, but you shouldn't have arthritis at your age. You shouldn't. I'm 73 and I don't have this. And this is when the conversation of you can get this herb, you can get this root of a tree, you can get this, you can get that. I'm not against natural herbs, but I don't know what tree is it, and why am I drinking this?
Mm.
So it becomes a bit of a sort of backwards and forward, and then I get things like, oh, you don't want to be taking cocodamol, your kidneys will go, and this will go, and I know medication isn't brilliant, but there's a reason why we're taking it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. If a doctor's prescribed it to you, it's for a reason because I mean,
absolutely.
all medications do have their side effects. Like
Mm,
none are perfect. Sadly, there's not the magic pill to make it all go
yes,
away, but these things are
absolutely.
just like to help you along, essentially, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, my immediate family, like my children, they get it, they understand. And they probably might say things like, Mum, just be careful of your diet, what you eat, manage your food. And obviously, since I'm a little bit not doing as much activities as I used to, I've put on quite a bit of weight.
Mm.
And, my children would say, look, maybe go for a walk and, you know, they're very positive and they get it. But it's more the older generation or friends and people that just see this as a taboo. And I'm like, it's okay for me to limp.
Mm.
People might make jokes out of it and all sorts of things, because I'm not the Liz I used to be. And that can really affect one's mental health.
Absolutely. I think you've touched on, there's a really interesting difference between like when it comes generationally,
Mm,
because like say someone in their 70s, how they would view it, as you just said, and then say like your children, how they view it. There's such
mm,
a drastic difference in like, say that like, 50-year gap as to how people think about things like,
yeah.
so like, an illness or any sort of ailments that anyone has.
Yeah, it's that sort of generation gap. Like, for example, my mother, she is 84 years of age. Her take on arthritis is just diabolical. And I'm like, she would say to me, don't go and do the hip replacement. Guess what? You're going to probably end up with a hunchback after. You're never going to be able to walk again. I'm like, where'd you get that from? But I can't reason with her. She's 84 years of age. And and she's in severe pain. She's in wheelchair as we speak. She relies a lot on her wheelchair. And of course, if you've got your mother telling you all these things, no matter what it is, I know that for me, whenever I've got a difficulty or something, I go to my mum and say, Mum, what do you think? But if your mother is saying to you, don't do that because of, you start to kind of believe it. If you haven't got a strong mind,
Mm.
you would start to believe these kind of things. Although I've done my own research, and know that that's not the case when you have hip replacement
No.
or anything like that. Yeah.
No, things like hip replacements or any joint replacements they can give people their lives back completely if they go well and they do all they do all the pre and post operation. It's amazing what it can do. It's just such a shame that there's still that, like, as you say, stigma out there that these are things that are not good. Maybe because either their knowledge is out of date or anything around sort of kind of things like that. It's just so interesting how drastically different some people's opinions can be on the same thing.
Absolutely. And it can be very disappointing sometimes, but you know what, Mark, for me, it's like onwards and upwards. And I think having to come to Arthritis Action and how I found Arthritis Action was actually a bit of a bizarre story too.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I was in the middle of Brixton doing my shopping, buying all my groceries and all my um, sort of plantain and yam and all the things that I love, the African food, all the ingredients to make my beautiful African dishes. And I happened to just walk past the massive Tesco's in Brixton at Acre Lane. And anybody who lives in London will know what I'm talking about. And I saw an advert on there saying arthritis. There was a young lad, the age I'll probably give the person in the advert was probably about maybe 25, 26.
Okay.
And it said Arthritis Action, we are here to support. And I thought, why is that young person on that board? Because in all my mind, for as long as I've lived, I never associated arthritis with young people. Not until 2021. I just thought, really? So when I saw that, I took a photo of it, of the advert. And I then came home and did some research. And I thought, oh, so there's an organization out there that, supports people with arthritis and how to manage pain and all the different work that they do. And I never knew there was one. So what was really great about the advert was for ethnic minority community, for example, somewhere like Brixton, for me to have seen that was just awesome. And that's how I got in touch.
Amazing.
I wouldn't have known otherwise. Yeah, I wouldn't have known otherwise that there is such help out there. And I've been telling my friends and family who have got arthritis to also get in touch. Yeah.
Have they been doing so? Have they done it yet?
Probably not, to be honest with you. Probably not. No.
But baby steps. You got to gradually. Like I said, not everyone can just like jump straight into something like that.
Yeah.
It does take a while for people to come round to things like this because, as you said, there's still. I mean, because I talk to so many people, I go out and I do presentations and I do groups and things like this, and still every single time people are shocked when I mention like young people with arthritis. Because it's really common. It happens all the time.
Yes.
And it's just that old stigma of like it's a thing for old people, and it's just so inaccurate. And obviously, like people are more educated generally, I think, these days. So like younger people tend to know more of this type of stuff. But
yeah, I think there should be some sort of big campaign out there somewhere, even if it's a TV advert or something. Because if I wouldn't have gone Brixton, I wouldn't have seen that. So I would have been struggling on my own with this condition. I would never knew there was support out there. I didn't know that anything like this existed until I happened to be there and saw this advert. And it was quite catchy because, Arthritis Action's logo and colours are quite bright, the green and the orange. So I thought, oh, what is that? And as I read into it, I thought, wow, I love this. I really love this. And more people need to find out that there is support and help and to break that stigma of what this condition can do,
Absolutely. And hopefully some people will be listening to this and drop us an email or pick up the phone. I'll give you all the details at the end, everybody. Don't worry. It's also in the episode description if you do want to get in touch with us. Aside from all this, I was wondering, do you think that the relationship with healthcare teams and professionals can change depending on your upbringing then?
I think yes. It could change. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, when I went to my surgery and I was eventually told that you've got arthritis, I couldn't see one bit of information on arthritis. Sometimes the GP, they've got leaflets. I couldn't see anything on it. So I was like, well, you've told me this, now what? Where do I go for help? And then I was given cocodamol, take this. And I was like, I'm sure there must be help out there somewhere. In fact, one of my biggest mistakes was not to have researched. If I would have done a bit of research, like where do I get a support group? Maybe I would have found other arthritis charities. But I didn't do that and hoping that the cocodamol and naproxen and tramadol and whatever they were giving me would work. Of course, I reacted badly to two of the medications. And even with the pain cocodamol, the painkiller I'm taking, as much as it numbs the pain, give it a couple of days, the pain's back again.
They only mask it, don't they? They don't cure
Absolutely.
anything. They're just there to mask it.
Absolutely. And just to let the listeners, anybody who's listening here, I'm not so much against medication
Of
and
course,
I'm
yeah.
not so much for it. Whichever way round, you've got to, as an individual, you've got to do what's right for you. But I do know that if I've been invited to a wedding or a christening or some sort of traditional function, then I will take my painkillers because that's the only thing I'm going to be able to stand or sit for that long, for that duration of time. Yeah. So, sorry, Mark, I might have gone off the question you asked me, but ask me that question again, and I might answer it.
No, that's all good. I mean, there's one other element of that I wanted to bring up actually was do you think that there's like a public almost like a mistrust of public services for some, like especially when it comes to like race or a cultural background?
I think so. Yes,
Mm.
I really think so. I think when it comes to as a black woman, sometimes I don't know. It's sometimes we're not even believed
Yeah.
when we say certain things. Like if I say I've got arthritis, I could go somewhere and say I've got arthritis, and people look at me twice. Like I said, it's not bleeding, is it? It's not a wound that's open; it's bleeding. And of course, I'm not in a wheelchair. Maybe if I'm holding my stick, it might make a difference. But sometimes you're not even believed, and the care that sometimes we get differs from someone who's not from a black background. We've probably seen loads of stuff in the media, women that
Mm.
go to give birth and all sorts of different conditions that there might be. Because one thing with osteoarthritis in me, which is what I call it, there are days, Mark, I get up and I think I can do this today and I'm off and I'm doing it.
Mm.
And then tomorrow I can't even come out my car. I can't get out of the car. I've got into it, but I can't come out of it. So if you're somebody that's thinking, but you did it yesterday, try and do it today, you've completely got the wrong end of the stick because it differs. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't
then
work like that, does it?
exactly. And then sometimes we're not believed. I'd say maybe some of us, I can't generalize everybody, but from the little that I've seen, I had to keep fighting to get to where I am. I mean, my GP is great. I'm not saying they're awful. They are good, but I
Yeah.
had to keep going on and on about it before I got the help I needed. Yeah.
Mm. Do you think maybe it would have been taken a bit more serious quickly had you been like, say, a white woman, for example?
I think so. 100%.
Mm.
I do think so. Yeah. For some reason, it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this is certainly not the first time I've heard this. I mean, as you said, we've all seen the media, we've all seen like there's loads of statistics
Yeah.
which are shocking and horrible to see that there is any disparity in it because
Yes.
there should be none. But
But
unfortunately,
unfortunately, there is. Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes I always say to people that you've got to be me to experience it to know it.
Mm.
Because otherwise, with me, just unless you're somebody that really does understand and empathize, otherwise you would think, but why? But it is what it is. Yeah. My shoulder pain. I was told maybe just keep lifting bottles and it would just go. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I've got shoulder pain. Would you not want to do something about that? It's as if I'm singing like I'm constantly moaning.
Mm.
And when you keep shouting or when you keep repeating yourself, I shan't use the word shouting, but when you keep repeating yourself about something and it's completely dismissed, you eventually give up. So I think if I hadn't met Arthritis Action, I probably would have walked away
Really?
and not done nothing. Yeah, I wouldn't have done nothing about it. I'd have just lived with the pain.
Wow. That's terrible to hear.
Yeah, I would have really lived it because I wouldn't know where else to go for help. I wouldn't know where, and I hadn't met people that were experiencing the same pain as me in terms of, apart from my mother. Never met anyone. But when I've been to Arthritis Action for meeting and I see that other people have also got lived experience, it just makes me feel like, oh, I belong. But I can honestly say to you, I don't know many Black people in my circle that have admitted that, yes, they've got arthritis and yes, they're living with this condition, yet I can see they're in pain.
Mm. So you reckon that you probably do know people then maybe
Oh,
that
yeah.
do, but again, because of that like
The,
stigma
the
surrounding like how they
stigma, the
think about it.
cultural barrier. Yeah, yeah. So it works both ways, really. One, you're fighting with a medical institution thinking, please, I need help. And then the other end, your own is like saying, well, buckle up, it's not that painful, is it? Get on with it. So it's like I'm torn in two sometimes. I don't know which direction to go with. Only to have I'm a quite a strong-minded person. And if I want something, I won't give up till, you know, until I succeed. And for me, I think meeting Arthritis Action just put the icing on the cake for me. Because it was like, you're not on your own, Liz. There's help here, which is beautiful to have.
It is. I'm so happy. I'm so happy it worked out for you in that way.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
us as well to have you with us.
Oh, bless. That's awesome. And of course, to sit on a board as well, hopefully when people visit the website, they'll see people that look like them and think, oh, actually, because some people may not take this seriously and just think, oh, arthritis may not even be for certain race, but it doesn't matter what race you're from. It can be for anyone.
Absolutely.
And I was talking to a friend of mine, I think she was talking about rheumatoid arthritis with me, and she said apparently back in Ghana, where I'm from, it's not even recognized. People would just, oh, I've got stiffs, aches and a bit stiffness, and that is it.
Wow.
I don't think there's rheumatoid doctors that many who's taking care of this particular condition. And I was trying to do a lot of research and I couldn't find any because it's not seen as drastic, or it's not seen as, listen, it's okay, just eat a bit of a root plant and drink water and it might just go.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not saying traditional medicine don't work. Maybe they do. But hey, I'm yet to find out.
Yeah. Obviously, especially with something like us, we always have to sing about other ones with a scientific backing,
Yes,
because that's how it works.
absolutely.
We've got to make sure we're providing responsibly. So
absolutely.
So not poo-pooing anyone's other methods, but it's obviously, of course, we have to recommend certain things for certain reasons.
And of course, Mark, I am also, if it's not prescribed or if it's not researched, I'm not having it. Because in my mind, it's like, well, where's that from? What's it made out from? What is it?
Yeah, I'm very suspicious when it comes to things like that. I just have a naturally very suspicious mind where, like, if someone said, like, oh, if you take this, like, supplement or something, it'll just do absolute wonders. Studies have shown this. Which studies? I don't see any references for anything anywhere. And who are you?
Exactly.
Are you a doctor? Have you done any research? A lot of the time, that stuff's not included in any of this.
Yes.
But you might find a link at the bottom of the website which says, oh, but you can buy it here. Oh, okay. You did your own studies.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do any of the Amazon purchase because somebody's recommended a certain herb and it will help me. I don't do any of that. If it's not my doctor or I don't know. I've never been I've never been to see any herbalist. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just going with what makes sense to me. I like proof and scientific proof, and I know that it's working. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So there's one other thing I did want to talk about as well, which we've sort of touched a little bit on it, but I did want to expand on it. Is about like why you think communication is so important with arthritis.
Okay. Communication is very important. It's very, very important. I say it's good to talk. And now, honestly, Mark, I will stand on top of a mountain and say, yes, I do have osteoarthritis everywhere I go. If I have to explain why I need a seat, or if I'm getting on a bus and I need to sit down, because it's not physical, you can't see it. I even said to a friend of mine, it would be great if they had a badge saying, I'm disabled. Maybe they might have a badge saying, I'm disabled, please. Could I have a seat? Because disability isn't just somebody in a wheelchair. Some disability are invisible, i.e. osteoarthritis for me. So communication is really important in saying to somebody that I'm in pain and I need help. And I mean, lots of workplaces would do reasonable adjustment for osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis and so forth. So it's good to talk and it's good to speak to, if somebody's listening here and, for work-wise, to speak to your line manager.
And, your work is legally required to make certain adjustments for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's something people are terrified of a lot, is they can't tell their boss because they think they'll just get fired for it. Well, maybe you've got a really terrible boss, but they legally can't do that to you.
Absolutely. And where I work is absolutely amazing. When I mentioned initially, I was like, oh, do I tell my boss that I have arthritis? Do I not? I wasn't too sure whether I should, I shouldn't. But I just pluck up the courage and I said, listen, I've been diagnosed with arthritis. And he went, that's great. Thanks for telling us. What can we do to help you? So at work, for example, I'd only have to go into the office once a month because of the kind of work I do.
Hmm.
I've got electric desk that I can raise up. I can put it down. If I want to stand, it goes up. If I want
Nice.
to sit, it's absolutely beautiful. They've given me, is it ergonomic chair so
Hmm.
that my back isn't so painful. My boss would say to me, take breaks in between when you're in pain, take breaks in between your work, go for fresh air, come back and continue. And these are all reasonable work placement adjustment. And if anybody's listening and they feel like they might have arthritis or any other chronic pain and feel they can't speak, communication is key. Because if you don't say it, your managers are not going to know it. They're going to assume you're all right, you know? And how it affects, for example, because I wasn't talking about it so much, it was really actually affecting my mental health.
Yeah.
And I was living with it by myself and, trying to fight this on my own. But now I would just confidently say, I'm in pain and I've got arthritis, and can I please have that seat you're sitting on without feeling any way? So I'm slowly getting there, Mark. It's not all about being totally ashamed.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I mean, and also,
Yes.
I mean, like, it's an incredibly tough thing. It's not something people are just going to be able to like overnight, just like snap the fingers, like, right, I'm confident enough to deal with this and tell everyone all my stuff now, because it's
Yeah,
going to be a long period of adjustment for most people.
absolutely. And the fact that I'm on a podcast talking about it, the whole world is going to listen to this, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Wherever it ends up, hopefully, I hope that it will help someone to also have a mindset of it's okay not to be okay. You know? Yeah.
I
Hmm.
absolutely love that. That's one of my sort of like favorite sort of sayings, just to tell people that it is okay to not be okay. You don't have to be
Absolutely.
perfect all the time.
Hmm.
We're all just people.
Yeah.
We're not perfect.
Absolutely. And I was saying to my daughter the other day, I said, if anybody would have said to me about 10 years ago that, you know what, Liz, you're going to be diagnosed with osteoarthritis and all your movement and things you used to do will be quite limited, I would never have believed it.
Mm.
It just literally, I woke up one day and this is it, a different life. And, as time go along, with human beings in general, things might change. You know, somebody could fall down the stairs today and break a leg. That's somebody who might have disability for a short period. Or you might, trip over a pavement and before you know, maybe you've broken a bone or something where you might need crutches to walk on. So I think the point I'm trying to make is to the individual who's listening to this podcast, it's okay, and if I, of all people, can put my hand up and say, look, I need help, then I'm saying to whoever's listening to this, it's going to be okay. It's as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think that's a perfect note to end on. I really, really like that. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And if anyone wants to, get in touch with us, you could send us an email, and that's podcast@arthritisaction.org.uk, or go to our website. Loads of information, fact sheets. We've got a whole list of different places that you can go to access, so to help mental health and physical activity as well in your areas as well. It's all on the website when the address is www.arthritisaction.org.uk. And yeah, plenty of stuff for you to have a look into there. And, hopefully we'll be able to give you some support if you need it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I've really enjoyed that. And yeah,
Mhm.
let's do it again at some point.
Of course. Different topic. Yeah, that'd be great.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well,
Awesome.
thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.